Final picks in DFS strategy for UFC 313. As always, you can call me Kuniev. Let's make some money this week. Having the chance to record this after the weigh-ins, and of course, the one time I decide to wait for the weigh-ins, everybody makes weight. We have no issues, but we should be happy about it. Before we get into the DFS stuff, if you haven't already, go back and watch the predictions video from earlier in the week. That'll be linked in the description and in a pinned comment. That's a full card breakdown, different than this video. Watch that, then watch this, and then you're all set. Let's go. So we'll start with value plays. These are going to be plays at 8,000 and below. Salary wise, you're going to need some underdogs to make everything work with your lineups, and there are a few spots where we land this week. I'm sure people are going to begin to Jalin Turner, but I really like the other side of that matchup. Gutierrez is somebody who is probably going to win, but he doesn't score very well, so not somebody I'm looking to play either, despite thinking that he's going to win and picking him to win. Magomed Ankalaev definitely has to be in value play consideration this week because he's in the main event, because he has 5 rounds to work, because he's probably going to need to wrestle here to have success. And during the predictions video, I think I phrased something poorly. I said that he's going to struggle on the feet, or at least I was trying to say that he's probably going to struggle on the feet if he can't get takedowns. Not that he's struggled in the past on the feet. He's one of the better strikers in the division, but he's going against the best striker in the division, and it's very clear now after he's beaten Khalil Roundtree, Jamal Hill, Yuri Prohaska. The only other guy that is at 205 right now that might give him a run for his money on the feet would be like Carlos Olberg. So I don't want you to think that I think this guy's got nothing on the feet, because he obviously does, but if he wants to win, I think he's going to need to grapple. I think he's going to need to secure at least 3 takedowns this week, a lot of control time as well, and down at his price at 7,900 with the 5 rounds to work, definitely have to be in the value play consideration. If you're running single entry, I wouldn't recommend it, but hey, if you like the Magomed Ankalaev side, then you're going to play it anyway. Justin Gaethje at 7,800, buyer beware. He's going to come in way over owned being in the co-main spot. If this was a 5-round fight, Justin Gaethje is your guy. In 3 rounds, I'm not interested. I think he's going to win, and I talked about in the predictions video as to why. I also wrote on the official betting article why I think Justin Gaethje wins and what you notice in that first fight, because I had some people in the comments telling me like, the first fight, it was pretty close, go back, rewatch it, and I typically do when I'm on the fence about fights like this. I thought I remembered it differently based on the way that people were talking in the comments, but it was exactly what I thought it was. Justin Gaethje won that fight because he really took it to Fiziev in the 2nd and 3rd round. Even when he was rocked in those rounds, was able to recover very well. The damage happened early, so he was able to get his wits about him, and then he took over later in the rounds. And I don't think he did that because Fiziev got tired. I don't think he fought him at a pace where Fiziev was going to fatigue at that striking pace. No, it was more Justin Gaethje figuring out his opponent, because after the first round, that jab from Gaethje was absolutely money. He also did a very good job of when he crashed the pocket and closed distance to land strikes on the break. And you look in that 3rd round against Fiziev, he was able to secure a takedown really easily. It was late. Fiziev probably didn't care that he got taken down, wasn't really thinking about it, but it just shows that if Gaethje wants to do that, he can do that really whenever he wants. But I bring him up because I picked him to win, but I'm not playing him on Draftkings because he probably doesn't score that much. 3 rounds, they're primarily going to strike. Last time they fought, he won. He scored 77 points. I'm not interested. Amanda Lemos, definitely somebody who's got to be in value play consideration. I think she has early finishing upside here, despite not scoring a whole lot of points recently. I do think at 7,700, she goes a little under the radar. Ozzy Diaz is super interesting this week. I think people will get here just because of the finishing upside. I think the sharper the contest, meaning like the higher the entry fee, the more you're going to see people play Ozzy Diaz, just because if he does win, it's probably going to be a knockout, and it's probably going to be in the 1st round. 7,500. I think he probably comes in around like 22 to 25% owned in most contests, but I think Ozzy Diaz is a solid play this week. But as far as other value plays go, I'm not all that interested. I think you have to have Magomed Ankalaev as one of the value plays just because he's in the main event, but outside of that, I don't love it. I get that there's a path for Turner. Gutierrez has a good matchup. Bruno Ferreira can knock anybody out. Really, if I had to plug one more in, I guess it would be Justin Gaethje, but I think you're going to live in that mid-range this week. I'm not going to plug in these people at 8,000 and below just to have value plays for the sake of having value plays. Like, we're not going to be able to build as many lineups this week because I think that the favorites. But now we'll get into building some lineups. We'll start with cash game lineups, 50-50s, head-to-heads, double-ups, things that you do to kind of build your bankroll if you're doing them the right way. Before we do, though, if you haven't already liked the video, subscribe to the channel, comment something for the algorithm. For your cash games this week, I don't really recommend recommend playing the main event because I think that that fight could end inside the first 3 rounds. And if it does get extended beyond that, I think both guys are going to have a real measured approach. I think that they're going to fight at kind of a slow pace. I don't think this is a fight where the guys go to war at all. I think they're both going to be very calculated. So I don't think you're going to have a high scoring loser in the main event. So instead, what we'll do is we'll come down here. We'll grab our first punt play. I think one of the better punt plays of the week is probably going to be somebody like Rei Tsuruya or Francis Marshall. Let's go with Francis Marshall at 7,000. Reason being, Alex Morono's a tough guy. He's been hard to put away. Doesn't get knocked out all that often, but I do think that Carlos Leal probably knocks him out sometime in the first 2 rounds this week. Just with the way that Leal approaches the game, the aggression, the power, the forward movement, Alex Morono gives up a lot of real estate, slows down as the fight goes on, so I could see a round 3 finish for Leal as well. And then for Bobby Green, I know that people were saying, well, look at the fight with James Lontop. Ruffy didn't knock out Lontop, and when you look at that fight, listen, that kid is young and Peruvian. Peruvian's got some of the best durability in the world. Bobby Green's been knocked out and knocked down multiple times in the UFC. We've seen it. So I think the most likely outcome in this fight is that Ruffy ends up knocking him out in the first or second round. So I'm not really interested in those two. Francis Marshall is going to be the cheapest, most viable play because I think he does go the full 3 rounds even in a loss, and I think he might get a takedown or 2 here. So if he's our punt play this week, it leaves us with 8,600 left over per fighter. And again, I do think a lot of the slight favorites look good this week. So give me somebody like Bahamondes. I'll take Gutierrez in this lineup, even at 8,000. I think you could come up here to Josh Van. I think you could grab somebody like Armen Petrosyan, and then with 9,400 left over, you can grab yourself a Mauricio Ruffy. You can come here to Curtis Blaydes, whatever works. This way you're avoiding the main event as well. A lot of people are going to be on it. A lot of people are probably going to be stacking it for cash this week, and I don't think that's the right way to go. I think this is going to be right along the lines of what the cash game recipe is for the week. Now, if you want the DFS strategy guide that's going to have the official cash game plays as well as the tournament plays, if you want the DFS strategy guide, the lineup optimizer, data model, projections, official betting article of the week, community parlay, all of that can be found on KuniephMMA.com. That is linked in the description and in a pinned comment. Best way to support the channel. Check it out. See if it works for you. Try it out for a month. If you make money, great. If you don't make money, yell at me. It's fine. As for your tournament lineups this week, that's where I think you want to start attacking the main event. So I'm going to go with Poatan at 8,300, and we'll start building around that. I'll take Ignacio Bahamondes, 8,375 left over per fighter. Let's go with the cheapest of the value plays with Ozzy Diaz at 7,500, 8,666 left over per fighter. That's where it starts to get a bit dicey. Probably need to grab me another value play. Let me grab Amanda Lemos at 7,700, and now I can come up here and start grabbing these more expensive pieces. I'm cool with this. And if you want to go with the other side, if you're running multiple lineups and you don't use a lineup optimizer, maybe you're hand building multiple lineups, maybe you trot 10 out there, easy switches that you could make. Alex Pereira, come down here, grab Magomed Ankalaev, leave your 800 salary on the table because it's going to help you get different. You can also come here, swap Jalin Turner for Ignacio Bahamondes because Jalin Turner round 1 is basically his only win condition. I don't think he would win outside of the first round. Meaning if he does win, he's going to score you a whole lot of points. He left 1,000 salary on the table, and then you come here and you make another lineup with Poatan instead of Ankalaev, and now you've made 4 different lineups. We'll blow that up. We'll start anew. Let's say you wanted to start with Magomed Ankalaev. I'd probably come here to Bahamondes. Let's say you didn't want one of the value plays that we mentioned before. Let's say you did want to go with Justin Gaethje. Let's say you did want to go with Chris Gutierrez. Now you can come up here, grab some of the more expensive pieces. I would say you probably need the winner of Santos and Diaz, because if Santos wins, he's going to be grappling a lot. He's going to spend a lot of time in top position. If Diaz wins, it's going to be by knockout. So Santos, even with 3 rounds, has a high ceiling. Diaz, with that early win condition, gives him a high ceiling as well. And then if you wanted to come up here to Ruffy, you could do that. You're noticing, though, it's kind of hard to get up to Carlos Leal. So let's try to build a lineup with Leal. Let's go here to Pereira. Let's go here to Lemos. We're just going to try to stuff the Brazilians in as best as we can. Let's go with Brunno Ferreira. I'm going to keep giving you different looks since I don't have many value plays for you. 8,400 left over per, and I think I'm out of Brazilian, so I'll go with Bahamondes, 8,600. Petrosyan, you can't really do it. Lemos, you can't really do it because you have the other sides of those matchups. Fiziev, I prefer Gaethje. I feel like if you're playing John Castaneda, it's just because of ownership. He's probably going to come in pretty low owned. So if you want to play that game as you probably should, then John Castaneda is not a bad play. If I wanted to get another Brazilian in there, I'd have to come off of Bahamondes because I'm seeing it open up now. I'd have to grab Santos, and then I can come down here and get the other side of that Jalin Turner, Ignacio Bahamondes matchup. Or to feel a little bit better, because I do think that Bahamondes has him. Got Gaethje there. I'm cool with that. Is there any way to get these two up here in the same lineup without feeling terrible about it? I don't know. So let's see. Ozzy Diaz. It's gonna be pretty close. You're probably gonna be stuck playing nothing but underdogs. Yeah, not impossible. Not impossible at all. Let's say you wanted to go with Poatan instead of Magomed Ankalaev. You got to come off one of these spots. So I'm gonna take Gaethje out of there. And let's see here. I mean, I guess Kuniev because of the unknown that comes along with it. I'm really thinking that Josh Van packs this kid up, so I'm not really too interested. Kuniev would probably be the flyer that I take in a lineup like this. You obviously can't play these two because you have the other side. I just told you how I feel about this. If you wanted to try Francis Marshall out instead of Kuniev because the matchup is better, he's not facing a top 5 talent in the division, then by all means. But if you want to play the heavyweight MMA game, anything can happen, then sure, that makes sense. That's just a couple of ideas of what you can do with your lineups. If you enjoyed the video at all, like it, subscribe, comment. That's Final Picks. I wish you all the best of luck at UFC 313, and I will see you next week.